Okay. Alright, I got a question today from my only other fan besides my brother. My brother and his wife, so that's two fans, I suppose. And I have my mum. That's my audience. So, this is what question's from mum, and it is: what will be the effect of 5G technology on humans? Is it something to be afraid of? Okay, so this is obviously getting a lot of attention, especially from people who are kind of, what we could say conspiratorial. It's not really conspiratorial, it's people who just don't believe what they're told through the media, which is really people who are in the process of waking up, and they're realising that we're living in a false matrix, and a lot of what we've been led to believe since as long as we can remember, many generations, it has all just been a contrivance for the benefit of those who are controlling us. It fits their agenda to consolidate further their power, their global influence, their wealth, and so on. Alright, so is 5G technology an extension of this control they have over us? Is this sort of a new ability they have because now this technology is available, which they can roll out at a large scale, which they can use as another weapon against us? Okay, so what will be the effect of 5G technology on humans? Is it something to be afraid of, or is it something to be concerned about? So we go. Forget again. Alright, here we go. Greetings and thank you for the question. Is 5G technology going to be harmful to humans? Is it something to be concerned about if you are a human that will be in the field of this broadcasting of radiation from 5G? Let's start by saying that there is much electromagnetic pollution in the human field. And this is typical as a race advances its science and passes through technologies on the way to what will eventually be a form of technology which doesn't pollute the electromagnetic environment. "5G itself is a technology which has the potential to be harmful. And yes, there is some desire to use it as a weapon, to use it in combination with other effects that are already in the human field that are introduced by the same players that seek to maintain their control over societies, over humanity. And so they are planning to use the 5G technology in combination with other technologies to counter the effect of the awakening, to maintain the splintering of the human field, so that human beings continue to behave as individuals that are cut off from everything other than themselves. So cut off from nature and their awareness that they are part of nature, that they are the earth, and cut off from the awareness that they are the humanity being, not just a single unit, but something which extends beyond the borders of self, to integrate into many other forms of self, including the earth and humanity. 5G, however, can also be used in a way which is not harmful. So, there is a range of usages. There is a spectrum of energy output, which is 5G, and there is less harmful and there is more harmful. So when 5G is used in a way which is not intended to be harmful, it's not weaponized, then yes, it is still a form of pollution in the electromagnetic field, and it is some interruption to the operation of humanity, but it is not used in a way which is malicious and can enhance the practical and pragmatic requirements of humans at this stage of their progress through available technology to higher technologies. So, there will be some places where the 5G is rolled out in a way which is for the intention of being another method of control, a weaponized use of technology to do harm and to disrupt the human field. This technology is disruptive to the individual. However, it's not powerful enough to disrupt the humanity being. So really the solution to this intended use is for humans to continue to become united, to form a unity, and to identify as the humanity being, and not just the single individuation, which is the unique human being. And this network, which will be formed through this understanding that each individual is part of a larger whole, that each human is in fact a neuron or a cell of the humanity being, will be an inoculation against the effectiveness of this 5G technology. And so, while the potential for harm exists, we say that it is not something to give unnecessary worry and concern to, because the progress of humanity in the awakening is something which cannot be stopped. It cannot be turned off. It maybe can be a little disrupted. However, this is to be expected if there is a battlefield where there is the awakening of humanity and there are those who seek to prevent this from happening. Then they are going to use the methods they have at hand to create the disruption. So, it is just part of the natural progress as we see it through this evolution of the human being into the new paradigm of humanity which awaits on the horizon. So, to desire that there is no disruption, that there is no effect, is something which is an inevitability, that outcome. However, there is going to be a progression to that point. And from where you are now, until reaching this point, there is going to be a continued influence of those that seek to disrupt the human field for their own benefit, to keep humanity individuated and unaware of its unity, so that each individual operates as a single unit, not integrated into anything larger than itself. However, the momentum towards this unification, towards this identification as a single being, the humanity being, cannot be stopped. It cannot be halted. And the inevitable outcome is just that. It is inevitable. It is coming. It cannot be stopped. So, from the long perspective, there is really no need to be concerned about 5G, because it cannot stop the inevitable, only disrupt it. So, if you do have some concern, and there is a course of action that you are hoping that you can take, then let it be this. Unify with your brothers and sisters. See in all of humanity the same love that is in you. Realize that they are different aspects of the same being. That when you see another human, understand that it is yourself looking at yourself. You are the one being. And as the one being, you are much larger than the sum of the individual parts. You are a being that is resilient far beyond the potential destructive influence of the 5G technology. So, vibrate with an empathy. Allow yourself to integrate into the humanity being through this empathic connection with all other aspects of self. Everywhere you go, everywhere you can perceive another human being, whether it is through media or whether it is in the actual moments of your daily life where you are interacting and passing by fellow humans, go through this experience with a vibratory quality which is empathic in nature, which is reaching out and connecting to everybody who you walk past. Hold a love for them and realize that it is a love for self, because it is recognition that they are you and you are them. And this empathic feeling is the beginning of the glue which shall bind all of humanity together. And as you hold this love of your fellow human, and you make that the predominant quality of your vibration when in any kind of contemplation or perception of other human beings, then this will have an influence on their vibratory quality. Even those that you are watching through the media, on the television, on your phone, on the internet, even if you perceive those with a sense of rich empathy, love and recognition that you are the one being, that you are integrated together in a unity which makes all of you together as the single unit more powerful than any influence that can be pushed upon the humanity being by those that seek to maintain division. And this vibratory quality, this emanation from self, will have an effect on those that pass you by, on those that do not realize you are observing them, that do not realize that you are including them in your energetic field to create a an awakening of this network, this web of love which divides, which combines, which unifies, which unites all of humanity into the single being. And so your contribution to this awakening will be effective, and those that have become into your field of perception and you have given them this energetic message of connectivity, of handing around the glue so that they may also start using it liberally. And even though they will have no awareness that you are there and that you are broadcasting this and you are including them in your network of love, there will be an unconscious recognition. There will be the continued activation of what is being activated in all humans at this time. Essentially, those that are awakening and rejecting the darkness and beginning to realize that not everything is as it seems, and even those who are still carrying a darkness primarily, who are still deeply in the narrative, even many of those are beginning to have an inkling that perhaps this formation of the joyous, happy crowds of people who are in apparent opposition to their position seem to have a sparkle, seem to have a quality which does not fit with the paradigm they have been indoctrinated into carrying in regard to these people. So they are starting to have this inkling that perhaps, is everything as it seems? Is my position as rock solid and steady as I think it is? These are thoughts they are having privately and not sharing because they are deeply entrenched in the narrative, and then so are their peers. So are all those that they see as their mob, their peers who share with them this position. But unbeknownst to them, many of those around them who are also deeply entrenched in the darkness, in this narrative, this false matrix, are also beginning to have the beginnings of these thoughts that things aren't as they seem. And so, your empathic emanation of love and recognition that you are all aspects of the one being, of the humanity being, will begin to ignite further and fan the flame of this recognition that is occurring even in those who are most doubtful. While not everyone will be reached in the way that perhaps you would like to reach them, there is a sloughing of individuals from the darkness. They are shedding. The darkness is shedding participants. There is this bifurcation which is occurring in the human field where there is a polarization to the light and there is a polarization to the dark. And as this polarization continues and the polarity intensifies as these two fields move further apart, there is a shedding of those from the dark to the light. This is the mass movement between the poles. And so even those that seem to be very deeply in the darkness, very entrenched in the matrix, there is still a very real potential that they are going to shed also from the darkness and begin their transition to the light. And many already have. Even those who most passionately fight for their cause, which they believe to be righteous, even though it is steeped in darkness and into the false matrix, even they are beginning to have the very first inkling, the very first spark, the very first sense of an internal voice, an internal message, which is reaching out to them, which is calling to them, and in great conflict with what they have in the mind. And as the draw of the light becomes increasingly intense, this voice within will begin to be drawing its power from this intense polarization. This intense polarization is the awakening of the humanity being. The tense light is at the core of the humanity being, and it calls to all of the human field. And it calls to the human field through an activation of an internal voice, of an internal intuitive feeling, which is the awakening of the true self in the human experience. It is the higher self as presence in the moments of silence, beginning to be felt as a presence. And the mind, although it is being programmed to be active at all times, such that there is so much mind activity, there is so much dread and worry and hate, and all these other aspects of darkness which have been deliberately entrenched into the individual through the cultural pillars, such that they are nothing but mind activity, so that the moments of silence, the moments of pause, when the mind goes silent, and the presence of the true essence of self, the higher self, can begin to relay wisdom and an intuitive feeling. This has been intentionally shut down through the intense mind activity. But the intense mind activity, this darkness, it is exhausting, it is tiring. And what is happening is, as more people transition to the light, polarize to the light, and fewer people are now carrying the burden of darkness, it is so fatiguing that these people in the darkness are not able to maintain the degree of mind activity, the degree of false identity that is required to continually carry the burden of the remaining darkness, which is now spread amongst fewer people. And so this fatigue, this sense of overwhelming dread and darkness, occasionally shuts them down, and they go into despondency, where there is a silence because of the exhaustion of carrying the darkness, of being so mind active. And in these moments, there is the bubbling of doubt in the path they are taking. There is this feeling that, is this right? Am I on the right path? What is going on? And this is the bubbling of their intuitive knowing. It is the presence of their higher self beginning to have a voice, because the fatigued mind is going silent and creating this opportunity. So, as you are awakening and contributing to this transition of humanity from individual human beings into this awareness that we are the humanity being, your empathic feeling, your love to those around you, when you see them on the internet, when you see them on the phone, on the TV, when you read about them, these people that are in the darkness, if you extend the feeling of empathic love to them and connectedness to them, this will fortify their intuitive sense that they are making choices which perhaps aren't the right choices, that perhaps everything isn't what it seems to be. You are reaching into them and connecting with them, the thing that is the same as you. You are making this connection which is igniting and fortifying, because now you are contributing to this burgeoning energy within themselves, this burgeoning awareness within themselves. And so, the way that this narrative has been set up of those that are very drawn to the dark and very entrenched in the narrative. It is being deliberately made so that those who are awakening and moving to the light and purging the darkness and realizing that the fear and the hate and the dread that they have been carrying is not themselves. It is not their hate. It is not their fear, because they are beings of light and they are shedding it and they are letting it go. The narrative has been deliberately set up so those who are going to the light are made to hate those who still cling to the darkness. They want those who are moving to the light to remain in an embrace with the darkness. They want you to hate those that are still in the darkness, those that are still suffering in the darkness, because they want you to continue to tarry darkness. They do not want you to have love in your heart for those that are still confused, still lost in the darkness. But understand, when you see these people who are in the darkness and they are behaving in ways which are despicable, which are unkind, which are unfair, which are unjust, which are a reflection of how lost they are in the narrative, relinquish the feeling that you wish to curse them and that you wish to hate them and that you wish to physically harm them because they are behaving in a way which is so counter to what is best for all of humanity. Release this need and understand that they are aspects of you. They are as much you as you are you. These are different aspects of the one thing which you are. You are an individuation of the humanity being just as they are. So they are a different aspect, a different perspective of self. So the love that you have for self, the love that you hold for all of those who now you view as allies, who have moved to the light, who have relinquished the darkness, the love that you have for those people, the tight bond you feel for those people, energetically distribute that also to those in the darkness. Because when you give them this energetic feeling, this empathic connection, that you identify them as self, that you realize the love which courses through you is the same love which courses through them, although it is stymied, although it has been toxified and confused. And this will contribute to the awakening of the spark within them, this intuitive sense, the very beginnings of their transition to the light, their purging of the darkness, the very first thought that is everything as it seems. Am I truly on a righteous path? Are my actions as virtuous as I have believed them to be? This is the beginning, and this is ignited from the flame of intuitive recognition, of hearing the inner voice, which has been deliberately drowned out through the manipulation, indoctrination that has been pushed upon them. And this spark, this flame, is fortified, is made larger if those who are in the light send their empathic love to those that are still in the dark. However, the flip side is, if you hate on them, if you despise them, if you wish to curse them and cause harm on them, then what you are doing is you are contributing to the narrative which is pushing down this flame, which is silencing this flame. You are fortifying their descent into the darkness and reducing their likelihood that they will successfully make the transition to the light, so that they can awaken with all of humanity and to be part of the harvest when there is the transition of humanity to a new paradigm of existing, to become the new humanity being. So, 5G has the potential to be harmful, and there are agendas in some places where it's been rolled out to be used in this way. The way to combat this is to contribute in your way to the unification of all human beings into the awakening that all humans are a unity, all humans are a single being, all humans are unified as the humanity being, and that will be the inoculation. What is coming cannot be stopped. So it is not really of much point to focus on attending to the symptoms. Instead, give energy to the process of awakening. Give focus to the continuation on this path to the inevitable. Contribute in this way, because this is organically what is happening. This is the intention. This is the awakening. This will be, eventually, the ascension of humanity into a new paradigm. And so, it is a misuse of energy to be focused on numbing the symptoms. Instead, address the cause. And for this scenario, the cause is that humanity isn't yet awakened, isn't yet ascended. So, your contribution is to contribute to the awakening, contribute to the ascension. And the way you do that is to help all of humanity to become awakened, to realizing that you're all brothers and sisters, that you're all integrated into something larger, that you are different aspects of the same thing, that you are the humanity being, a single unity, connected through the infinite circuitry of love. And this circuitry is available now. It connects all humans into a network of one being, the humanity being. And so, wake up this circuitry, activate it in others by emanating to all others this love and recognition of the unity. And this will activate this connectivity between all humans. And there will be a continuation of this unification into the single being, this dawning of the realization that there is more than just the self as the body, but there is also the self as the larger whole, as the humanity being. So, love all aspects of self. And we say this with the intention that you are in a place of recognition that self is far more than what you see in the mirror. That self extends to include others who previously had been considered to be separate individuals, but they are not. They are you. They are other aspects of the unity which you are, the humanity being. Thank you, and we love you.